It's okay, my favorite is right now. Bam, 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 bam. Vete a la verga, puta. Vete a la verga. Es Tekken, Tekken. ¿Con quién quiero empezar? Ya dice. Tengo un tiempo, ¿eh? A ver con quién quiero empezar. Quiero empezar con el calientancias. Alright. Yes, 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 yes. Uh, uh, no. No quiero los sexy de Tekken. Quiero empezar a pelear ya. ¡Pelear! As long ya estoy en vivo, niña. Cuando te la gana. Cuando te la pinche gana. ¿Con quién empiezo? Oh, el negrito. Negrito, 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 negrito. No, esto es la verga. Si quieres ver, vas a ver. Y esto es en vivo contra otra persona y ya. No, me vale verga, es lo que quieras. Nadie te está escuchando, nadie te está escuchando. No, si quieres ver de verdad como antes, qué rica. Para que veas yo jugando con otra persona y ya. Yo sé que mira, ahí está, ¡pum! Vámonos. Ya, ya va a jugar con otra persona. Ya, yo soy el negro, él es el otro. Bam 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 bam.
Round one. Fight. You fool.
Oh. Oh. Ah, qué pendejo. Ah, no me acuerdo cómo jugar. Ahí está. No. No, ese no era. No me acuerdo cómo jugar. Ok, ya me acuerdo. Bueno, me estaba acordando. Oh no. Estoy jugando con el pulero. Ok, ya me está acordando, ya me está acordando. Ya gané uno. ¡Bam! Ok, ya me está acordando. Ya me está acordando. A ver la bestia que era antes, a ver. La pinche bestia que era antes, asquerosa. ¡Ah! 2-2, vámonos, puto. Vámonos. ¡Ah! Me ganó el último. Pinche puto, me ganó con una putería. Bueno, bueno. Sí, puto. Vámonos otra vez, a ver. Ay, ahí está, perfecto. Vámonos. Pinche puto. Ay, no me va a tomar. No, ya lo estoy jodiendo bien culero. Y culero. Eres un puto. Ay. Oh. Oh. No, sí me jodió ahí. Está bien. Ahí sí me jodió. Ah. No, todavía no con el viejito, no, pero está bien. Me gusta. Chingón la pelea. Que dos personas que sí saben cómo jugar. Ay, me ganó. Sigue el juego, sigue el juego. Ya. Vamos a cambiar personas y ya. It's the beginning of the end. Nunca vas a entender, mi amor. Pero igual yo nunca voy a entender tus tiempos tristes y ya. Es lo que es, mi amor, es lo que es. Yo quiero jugar como mi boxeador. Pam, 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 give me the gun. Y yo tengo mi boxeador. Amo este juego, mi amor, amo este juego. Yo soy ese boxeador, pero yo tengo como este puto ya. Ya, yo les pongo ropa a las putas. ¿Qué tanto soy, mi amor? Yo tengo putas y les pongo ropa y todo. Ajá, está hermoso. Pero yo les pongo lo más chingón que yo quiero jugar. ¿No? Para que vean, ah, cabrón, ese güey que... Y ese güey es muy normal. Muy normal, muy normal. Dice, este güey que... Trae tenis y se ve bien. Parece nada y ¡pum! Te entra una pinche chinga. Ay, ay, ay. Pero bueno. Dice, ¿para qué te cuento a ti? Tú ni escuchas. Vamos a jugar con él. Él me encanta, me encanta, me encanta. Con él soy un chingón, chingón, chingón. Súper chingón. Sí, baby, give me some out. No, no hace nada, mi amor. Pásame loco. Eh. Ay, 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 ay. No, mejor te pongo algo más raro. A ver. No, no. Ya dice que poner. No, no hay nada. Ya se escuchó todo. Ya has escuchado todo, ya conoces todo, te digo. Tú sabes quién soy yo, que es lo triste. Tú conoces de Alan. No hay nadie más que pueda decir eso, o hay muy poca gente que sí. Ya me conoces, señor, qué culero. No. Eh. Mm, mm.
Lydia Sobieska. Kazuyami Shima. Get ready for the next battle.
Voy a ir a cocinar. Vamos a ir a cocinar ya. Nada de ti. Sí, pendeja. Y te pongo video y todo. Yo estoy harto ya. Ya no quiero.
son. It doesn't take a genius to understand personal loans. They're lump sum payments that can help you pay off credit card debt with less in interest. And with set monthly payments, it's easier to budget than you pay them back. Now that's smart thinking. Find a personal loan for you on the Intuit credit card.
Back from the brand new horror film Weapons. Now this is one directed and written by Zach Brager, starring Julia Garner and Josh Brolin. And this is one where I wanted to do a trailer reaction for, but never got a chance to because the trailer is very, very intriguing. You have this little kid telling the story about how one day at a school, a bunch of kids disappear, the parents are pissed. We see scenes of kids disappearing and running in the darkness, and it's creepy. The trailer was really well executed, and I think about the title of the movie, and I'm like, what is this? Is this shooting? Is this an allegory for something? Is it a horror film? Are there ghosts? Is it played Piper? What the fuck is happening? And that, I think, is a really compelling part of the film. So I'm going to do my best not to do any spoilers, or spoiler section is going to be big, review relatively short, because I want you to go out and see the film. I think it's well enough executed. It is compelling. It's interesting. It's got tension. It's like trying to figure out, it's like puzzle pieces, right? That you're slowly putting together, and things are starting to click. One thing I didn't expect, this is not a spoiler, but I didn't expect kind of the storytelling. We're getting different perspectives, and all by the end, after having all of the different perspectives of what's happening here, I feel like I went through the ordeal, you know, along with the kids, the parents, and the town, and it's crazy, and there's different directions it can go, you know, there's some dream sequences, and you're like, what the fuck is that? What is this? I knew it, but then when you think you know it, you don't know it, but then later on, you know. So there is a moment, I think, in the film where maybe it shows his hand a little, but I think it's still very well executed. I'm going to keep an eye on this director and writer, Zach Brager, who at the beginning of our show pointed out how he was a comedian first, then went into horror. Same thing with Screwdriver. You know, the guy went from comedy and to horror. He was talking about others that have done it. There's the same guy with like Barbarian. Now, Barbarian has a big, you know, kind of like a twist in it. It's really cool. I recommend Barbarian as well. I enjoyed it. And I think I like this one as well. I'm not sure which one I like better. I have to really think about it. I think this one might have an edge on it. But it was really compelling. Josh Brolin does a good job. Julia Garner, which I hadn't seen in a while. I guess she did Silver Surfer too. That's the last time we've seen her. Well executed, and I left scratching my head. And this thing is, and I'm like, what is going on here? And ultimately, this is I would add this into the Rolodex of horror, saying, wow, this is a great film for that particular type of thing. And that's the most I can say. You know, there have been films like this in the past, and this one does a good job within this genre, and I would add it to that. It actually is in spoilers. But other than that, I liked it. What did you boys think?
Definitely go check this out. When I saw the trailer, I was very intrigued and I was very intrigued. I had no idea what the fuck was going on. I'm like, it's heavy paranormal shit. Aliens, those fucking aliens. And he's like, yeah, see all these more appears. I like the way you did that. It just brought everything together. Towards the end, it's like, the reveal. I'm still fixed on it. It brought it's still a little big, so this is sure like suspense thriller. You had simple elements, but I didn't expect a lot of this stuff. I did enjoy it, but it fell a
little bit. One thing Jenna was and asked me, and I'm asking you to see if you agree. And I was starting to go. But then I guess I did. I was thinking to myself, man, this would be a great fucking horror series if this is episodic on TV streaming. You can flesh it out more. You can put in more scares, more jumps. I actually think this concept might work better as a TV series. 4 hours, 6 episodes, whatever. But at 1 hour and 28 minutes, it still felt a little long, which is interesting. Maybe we got one more many perspectives that we really needed in order to make the film, amazing. It's been.
Yeah, I agree. I really liked it. I think if you're going to go see a horror movie, this is really solid. I hear that the other's really good too. So I think we're spoiled for good horror cases. It totally makes sense that this one's got like 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, which just means that everyone, for the most part, thinks it's a 6 out of 10 or better. And I'm up there. I think it's pretty great. It's not as scary as I thought it was going to be. I agree that it doesn't. I know exactly which one I wanted taken out. I was thinking, like, man, we didn't want too many. This is the one that we didn't need.
Okay,
and ultimately, like, serves kind of no purpose for the plot either, because characters get to where they need to go without any of this stuff happening. But I mean, there's some really tense scenes. There's really, like, you're along the ride. You're like, what did happen? How are we gonna figure out all this stuff? I think the initial kind of reveal was cool. I think the climax, or what was supposed to be kind of the climax, I don't think was great. But I think that it's good enough that you're going to want to see it. And then just because I don't there's like a 30-second, or maybe like a minute-long segment that I don't really like. I didn't think was handled pretty well, and it's an important segment. But I still think it's good.
Yeah. And one thing that I really enjoyed is towards the beginning of the film, I guess I went through different emotions. Because in the beginning of the film, it does a really good job of putting you in Julia Garner's shoes, or whatever her character's name is, at how scared she is and the situation she's put in when fucking 18 children disappear or whatever, and they're fucking mad at you. You know, this is your classroom. What the fuck was happening in your classroom? And while you get to see all perspectives, so you're like, kind of lay off her, but at the same time, you understand the parents are upset and they need to direct their anger somewhere. And so I thought there was like added tension from, oh my God, is someone gonna fucking kill me? Is the parents going to choke me out or beat me up? Harass me? And so that had that kind of tension. And then as the movie was going along,
About Andor. In a joint filing today in federal court, the Star Wars series star and the Bob Iger-run conglomerate asked for the year-and-a-half-old Elon Musk-backed legal action to be dismissed. Man, they really wanted Bob Iger and Elon Musk's name within the first couple of paragraphs. Well done there. There's some legal mumbo-jumbo stating basically they settled the lawsuit. A judge will have to sign off on the request, but this is done and dust in a galaxy far, far away. Stop! Deadline. And here at home with a distinct win for the openly conservative Carano. Fucking Deadline. Well, we can see how they're going to frame this article. While there are no specific details on the settlement have been revealed. Did I read that right? Did they rush this? While there are no specific details on the settlement have been revealed. I mean, I've been kicked out of 3 high schools, but that doesn't sound right to me. Like, is she getting her Rebel Shock Trooper Cara Dune role back as desired? They missed the space there, too. So, yeah, they must have rushed this. Clearly, Disney and Karani, guys, you have any editors over there? Disney and Karani are back in business. To that, a source close to Carano, not Karani, told me she is happy with how things were dealt with. There is no word from the social media active Carano yet. Well, she did say something. She said the truth will set you free. She said that today. Good for her. On the other side, in this era of knee bending in the face of mega forces, oh my God, here we go. The House of Mouse once again today adopted that trying to please tone it has been putting out there since Donald Trump took back the White House last November. You mean the great cultural shift? thank you for admitting that Disney was not pleasing their audience and other people, and maybe they should get back in the business of pleasing everyone. Far too late for them. Me personally, I think Disney could burn and the planet would be a better place, but I'd love to see the rest of Hollywood turn around. But yes, it's not bending the knee to the customer deadline. They have been pissing off the customer. They have been pissing off the nation for a long time now, and they are feeling the repercussions, and they are in the business to make money, and they want to start making more money again so Bob Iger can buy more shit to ruin. So however you feel about the settlement, I will say with this statement you're about to hear, Disney and Lucasfilm have certainly changed their tune about Gina Carano. The Walt Disney Company and Lucasfilm are pleased to announce that we have reached an agreement with Gina Carano to resolve the issues in her pending lawsuit against the company. A spokesperson said on Thursday, Miss Carano was always well respected by her directors, co-stars, and staff, and she worked hard to perfect her craft while treating her colleagues with kindness and respect. And certainly a long way from Disney and Lucasfilm wanting her to sit through a 40-person Zoom room struggle session.
And I was like, okay, I'll watch your documentaries and I'll talk to your people, but I'm not going to get on a Zoom call with 45 different people who can have their phones out videotaping me, and I feel like that's extremely abusive.
And again, one could argue that Disney Star Wars has never recovered from firing this woman, and she has become immensely more popular. I've seen her lines at comic conventions, and they dwarf other big actors and other big Star Wars actors who behind the scenes have mostly supported her. Well, except for Pedro, just in case you forgot and haven't seen him in the last 5 minutes, the guy who's basically in every movie, and after the 2020 election called half the country Confederates and Nazis. Yeah, that Pedro. Fuck him. I really want to stress, even though the term settlement is in here, Gina kicked their ass, and we don't even know what the settlement is yet, and maybe we'll never know, but I'm guessing she gets her show back, and again, I'm guessing she's got a big pile of money, and I'm guessing she might get other offers out of this, which is all good, because this is Disney bending the knee, and they should. They absolutely should. This is the right thing to do, Disney. I know the corporate knob gobblers aren't going to see it that way, but you actually righted a wrong, and it should have never gone this far. The fact that you fought it this long shows how stupid you are. Now, I thought you were a company that was supposed to support the strong, powerful female lead, and you had one there that was really popular, and you fired her. A few million less dollars, and that IP, Star Wars, that you paid billions of dollars for, is now practically worthless, and this is one of the reasons why. Back to Deadline. In case you had any doubt who was the victor here, let the last sentence of the Disney and Lucasfilm statement hit you hard. With this lawsuit concluded, we look forward to identifying opportunities to work together with Miss Toronto in the near future. Boom. There's a very different tone from last year when Disney insisted, as it had before, that the ex-martial arts fighter lost her high-profile Star Wars series gig 4 years ago because of the decision to publicly trivialize the Holocaust, which she didn't do. That is such bullshit. By comparing criticism of political conservatives to the annihilation of millions of Jewish people, notably, not thousands, was the final straw for Disney. Leave it to the Access media to fucking lie. No, the Post was talking about what led to that happening, and it was citizens turning on each other, which is exactly what was happening during COVID. So fuck you, Deadline. No, obviously the Holocaust wasn't trivial, and neither was the bullshit surrounding COVID. But leave it to the corporate Access media to frame this as just bending the knee to MAGA. No, MAGA forced Hollywood and corporate America to bend the knee to the culture, to actually respond to the customer, to the other half of the country, and now all of a sudden they decided, oh shit, we need to make money. I don't know, maybe because the USAID money's gone, the investment money's gone, I don't know, but the shit just happened. We're seeing our wins, and we're going to take them where we can get them. We're not going to win everything, but let's enjoy this one, and congratulations, Gina Carano.
Please subscribe.
Like, he doesn't know what's happening.
He's kind of yeah. To be fair to that guy, he's just got like dragged out some crazy like form of being stunned by like an alien, right?
Alien avatar.
Yeah, he got no idea what's going on. He's terrified.
What was funny was how,
Or like a rational right now.
yeah, it was interesting how he was able to get up and he could laser focus on running to the escape pod and being able to press all the buttons inside and to jettison it. He could do that with pinpoint precision, perfection, accuracy level. But when it comes to just a woman being like, hey, what's up? He screams his head off and he doesn't know what the fuck's going on.
Was he trying to frame her as well? I can't remember what his dialogue
No,
was.
the other guys were trying to frame, so they could ease mad. She was told explicitly that you put the weird facehugger on violent prisoners, so when she takes it off, she's already a fucking moron. Then it's fucking stupid that the escape pods unlock in the event of a security breach, because that's dumb. Then they somehow pick up all the escape pods, and the other prisoners who are not violent people are the ones who say, oh no, it was her, she did everything. But he's mad until Sol goes and mind reads him, because he can do that in that scene, but then forgets to do it later, but he never tries to doctor it.
I think the entire construction of that spaceship's cockpit, where you have the prisoners there who are not like stripped of their belongings and they're made to change clothes or shackled or anything like that, that are right behind where the pilots are sitting, and prisoners are allowed to keep like equipment that can wirelessly the pilots, because we can't use people.
Yeah, that's a bad idea.
Robots for stuff. It's a mess. The construction of the ship, the logistics are, like they designed specifically so that prisoners could escape.
Yes, but having one robot be the guard too, that's a little bit of an error.
But luckily that facilitates a delay that allows them to go on their little their bonus mission in episode 2 that lets them allow the main villain to escape. You know, like we need all of this stuff to happen to allow stupider stuff to happen.
Well, it's even more than that, because she shouldn't have been on the ship anyway. Yord and What's-Her-Face should have taken her to go back to the Jedi Temple instead of dumping her randomly on this prison cage to go to, I assume, Coruscant, to meet up with them where they were going anyway. But we had to split them up so we could have that ice planet. Waste of time.
Well, the Jedi guys to let them escape. It's a plot ship. It's actually an actual planet.
Shall be open. Searching for Runway for the last 12 years. My sister's not dead.
Bodies were found outside of Shelby Oak. Riley Brennan is still missing.
Last thing I saw, she said she saw a man standing in her room, staring. Man. Phone out here.
An actual class. But, yeah,
Maybe
that's
it's
Maybe it's a trust system. Maybe that's how the New Republic or the High Republic operate. They're interchangeable. If I mix up the names, I promise it literally does not matter. But maybe they operate on the trust system, where it's like, hey, if they're really, if they're good prisoners and they go along with it, then it means they really do want to repent and pay their debt to society, which means we can just let them go. But the ones that escape, I mean, well, they're gone, but now we know that they really were bad the whole time.
What it may be worth, I think, someone being able to betray you supposes you having an accord with them. So,
There's no betrayal here. He has no idea what's going on. This is nonsense data.
Being good isn't so good.
Being good isn't so good. We arguing that's what the Acolyte's about? Like, maybe. That's the point she's trying to make.
Then you meet another you that isn't so good. Your evil twin. Your shadow. The Acolyte.
He's not a shadow. A shadow, like, follows you around wherever you go. If you shadow someone, you're vaccinated for shit.
The Acolyte is a very Jungian.
Brag. Yeah, media literacy, the shadow self. Oh, yeah, the loser's journey. Yeah. I remember.
Un diablo, vas a ver, solo ya no me tengas, o sea, conocer una vida muy diferente. Yo a tratar todo, estás contigo y yo estás contigo, no sé muy feliz. Pero cosas que ponen muy feas. Lo que puedes aprender muy rápido es ya no soy yo, ya no te responde nadie, ya no te habla nadie, ya no te pones películas, todo eso. ¿Qué más aprender? ¿Sí? Puede ser otro, pero pues sí, la cosa es que yo soy yo, según. Y el que encuentres que siga, que hace similar, hace lo que sea, a ver, yo creo que ya listo, que te seguir, que quería sacarme contigo, después también me ha cruzado, que quería en estos días, a ver, a ver, estoy esperando hasta ver cuándo, yo cuando estudio quieren que ustedes. Entiendo cómo le quieras y por qué razón quisieras. Quieres cómo entras a una nación donde no sabes el lenguaje. Por eso que yo nunca he tenido suerte. Yo tengo un trabajo, tengo que trabajar. Sería bonito si puedes venir a vez en cuando, como estás tocando tu vista, pero no vivir aquí, que no tienes niños, trabajo de 18 años, bien, no importa. Si fuera tu trabajo fuera, ¿quieres limpiar cámaras o un trabajo asqueroso? Pero qué risa que pagan como 5 veces lo que se ganaste allá. Puedes decir, ah, sí, yo quiero limpiar también. Ok. Va a ser $12 la hora. ¿Sí? Entras, limpias, sales. Yo creo que es muy divertido. Perdóname, pero es muy divertido.
You deserve the best. At Harbor Freight, you can afford it. Performance, capability, affordability. Only one place does it all. If you do it for less at Harbor Freight.
Like, Java Speakers, what was that thing?
What would happen if Rogue touched the Hulk during a battle in the Avengers vs. X-Men storyline? Rogue was able to take on She-Hulk, Knight, Iron Man, Falcon by absorbing each of their powers and using them against the heroes. In this fight, Rogue predominantly seemed to use Hulk's powers she was easily able to get to since Rogue constantly engaged in hand-to-hand combat. When Rogue took in more and more of Hulk's cousin's powers, she began to absorb some of her rage as well as her incredible strength and single-handedly took down all of the rival Avengers. Later, following Hulk's resurrection at the hands of the Challenger, he attacked the Avengers HQ to retrieve an ancient artifact. Hulk completely defeated the Avengers and tried to stand in his way as she attempted to resolve his powers. However, she managed to get inside his mind and Bruce told her he can't be stopped, he can't be killed. Even though Bruce was pushing his powers, she wasn't able to handle the rage that was inside his power, proving that the incredible Hulk's rage was truly infinite. Also subscribe to think just a lot more after getting tired of it. Leader suggests they switch out.
entonces.
Peter suggests they switch jobs for
Like saying weird healing points, like, hey, wiggle.
What if he said it gets to that point where something happens in the movie and it's just.
Yeah, well, yeah, just that one. You sound like a stem.
Unironically, like, that would be an improvement.
It would, yeah, there would be less lies per minute.
Still in the beginning, it'll still be at the beginning. You did blur out the neck a bit.
You blurred out the neck.
Oh, when the chat said that, I was like, really? Oh my god.
This is just like who did the blur on the Cinema Wins. He blurred out the Joker with De Niro. He shot
blood splapping on the bullet wound.
Look, he's not the same mistake here. He blurred out the neck. He didn't blur out the blood on the wall there. See? The same mistake.
Also, in some camp, a bird dies, I guess. Like,
I guess you just try real hard not to get demonetized.
Yeah, YouTube.
Yeah, I think people are just so paranoid about the bots, I guess you can say. They wake up like, oh, is that red? That's blood.
It's,
yeah, I had to stop
things that you have to tick on the little thing that says when you declare monetization. When you declare within your video for monetization. One of them might be animals, right?
I can see that being a thing.
Or like just gore in general, like it's just blood. So he's like, well, I'm not sure if that applies to animals or not, so I'm just gonna blur out the animal blood.
So how does those rules apply to like that people play and video stuff for?
Oh, there is a category for video game footage.
Oh,
yeah. And if you say just like, video game footage, that's going to be okay. If you want to use,
Have you not read the full monetization declaration free?
Wow. Full over YouTube.
Yeah.
I get the idea that even though he's Jeremy or whatever it is, still presented as like his show, I get the idea there's probably a big, fairly hacky like his channel now.
Oh yeah.
And so the idea
Es la última cosa que te vamos a dar, yo me lo sé. Oye, mi amor, yo quiero que te duermas cómoda, sabiendo que no quiero nadie más, que no es ni narigona, bebota, pinche pollo mojado, llorando y cogiendo. No quiero nada. Me dice que para ti y puede estar mejor. Que están mejores, que físicamente están mejores y ¿qué? Yo te conozco a ti, yo te amo a ti, y vamos a estar a tu lado, hemos tenido nuestras aventuras, todo. Es una mujer que está y ya te he dicho aparte, no que no hay ninguna mejores. Como también sea y todo. Pero bueno, vamos a decir que a mi vida muy bonita. importada de ninguna forma porque no eres tú. Yo siento que tú estás preciosa y yo siento que tú estás hermosa. Te amo con todo mi corazón. No me importa nadie si no eres tú. Te amo. Y no hasta otro día. Y tocar el húmedo. Un poquito crudo. Pero. Ay, ya tengo el café, ya tengo el té, me siento, me tomo mi proteína, me tomo mi café. Ay, estamos. Es una chava tan linda persona. Y la persona que eres conmigo es... Ay, pero bueno, ahí está. Estamos tengo que dormir. Si no, voy a estar bien jodido mañana. Y voy a estar jodido mañana. Y por 5 horas no estoy clean. A ver cómo va. Estamos.
Going in for things that may be on the YouTube side, and so it's all very much kind of overnight. Yeah, just him. I don't even write.
I don't know. Just narrates it. Is that all it is? It's like P4 TV and stuff when they do the reviews, like the presenter and the person who wrote it are not the same person, and you're wondering like what.
Like the obvious immediate example is late night talk show host on private material.
Yeah. Yeah, and once you get big enough, you basically have everybody else do the editing, the research, the writing. It's still Jeremy's voice. Obviously, you can't make that, but assuming he basically runs the company and voices the stuff.
Yeah, I'll get an AI to do his voice too.
Yeah, probably could.
I mean, I was going to say, have you figured out how good someone can be for just the average person now? You can, like, if you give enough words, I don't know how many it is, it could be like 100 to 1,000, whatever, you can live the sentences that, like, you can...